All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday night with my man Big Marley, like usual, talking some MMA. 11 fights, though. Boo! Not a great DFS card. 11 fights. We do have an interesting wrinkle. $7,700 price fighter, the highest or the biggest favorite on the card, excuse me. Short notice replacement Jake Hadley was the underdog. Pricing was out earlier in the week. Brady, he stand out. In steps Cameron Smotherman, and Jake Hadley opens minus 200 yesterday, now minus 500. So we have that. We have only four of the 11 fights expected to finish. Of the ones that are, almost all of them will be very, very chalky. The main event, Hernandez Pereira, expected to finish, very popular. Darren Elkins, Daniel Pineda, the closest line fight on the card, closest price fight on the card. A lot of reasons to like that fight, will be very popular. Then you get down to Robelis Despain, tied for he's third biggest favorite on the card now. Highest inside the distance prop and favored to win in round one, 9,400. He will also be very popular. Right away, that's my grand scheme overview. 11 fights, not good, so it's hard to get different. And you'll see when our ownership's posted tomorrow, we'll talk about it a little bit. Very concentrated ownership on those fights and fighters I just mentioned. After that, everyone else will pretty much be low-ish owned, and you can mix and match from there. How are we doing on this fine Thursday afternoon, Big Marley?
Good, yeah. I'm not loving this card either. I mean, 11 fights is never great, but it's just a tough DFS card to like, especially with that $7,700 like free square. So I'm having a hard time figuring out how to get different. I'm thinking I might just throw 50 to 150 in the Shiptimizer and hope to get lucky, but right now, I don't even have any hand-built lineup, so I don't know where I'm going to go. I know I like the chalk, but I need to find some contrarian ways to go about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I have a couple that I can paint a picture in my head. Again, we'll go through it. The last thing I'll add about our quick breakdown is the less the fights are, the less I care about ceiling for the most part, especially when only 4 of the 11 fights you're supposed to finish. That means 7 are supposed to go to decision. That means, especially in the lower tier, I'm more focused on if a guy can win and score 70, that's more likely to be on the optimal in a week like this than it is on a 13-fight card, a 14-fight card, even a 12-fight card when 8 of the 12 fights are supposed to finish. So, again, concentrated ownership over a couple of these guys. Like I mentioned earlier, this 5-round fight, this 5-round fight, this 5-round fight, really just on the Despain side. And then Jake Hadley right here, because he's 7,700, as you see a minus 450 favorites. Other than that, relatively low-ish ownership. You see just our initial breakdown on the stone. Again, this is always filled out. The core, these guys will be highlighted, whether it's red, yellow, green, based on how we have them ranked here. The fight rankings, though, Big Marley does. He has a breakdown and predicts how the fight goes, but you can see a lot of low 2 and 3 stars, which means he doesn't really like the upside for those fights much. But, hey, you still got to pick 6 fighters. More times than not, at least I do not stack fights often. So you need 6 different fighters from different fights. So even though a lot of 2-3 stars, wouldn't be surprised if some of them do end up on the winner. Any initial thoughts for you, Big Marley, on this card? Grand scheme overview?
Nah, looking forward to the main event. The co-main event's pretty solid. I mean, the Elkins fight could be somewhat fun, but man, these other ones are hard to get pumped up for, most of them.
Yeah, no, you ain't lying about that. But always big boy money up top, 100K. You can put 100K in my pocket any day of the week, and I will watch any fights. Ben's in here. What's going on? I saw Ben comment, I think this morning, always in here supporting. Appreciate you. Anthony is here as well. Hope everybody out there doing well. Many watch on playback. All we ask from you, like button, subscribe button goes a long way. If you have any hot takes, any underdogs, I'm always like to check the YouTube comments. Drop them down there if you have so. So right now you're looking at the stone. Again, we have it for all the sports. We've had it up the past couple of weeks. One-stop shop, shows the odds, shows inside the distance props, a record, age, height, reach, significant strikes per minute, takedowns per 15, everything you need right there. Ownership, when we have it up tomorrow, will be right here, projections, etc. As you can also see, projections, ownership, core report, Big Marley and myself, cash games on both sites, slate plan, I break down all the fights, tier rankings, upper tier, mid tier, lower tier, we talk about Big Marley's fight rankings right here. No better time to get in because right now, NFL is going on, PGA swing season is going on, MLB, a couple games left, and man, that Guardians-Yankees game right now, Noel, big Christmas, 2 outs, bottom of the 9th, ties it up. That is a hell of a game right now. So always love MLB playoffs. BJ's got you covered for some showdown in the World Series. MMA, of course, college football going on. Nobody better in the business than our team. Shout out Hammock coming off the big week. NASCAR still going. NBA will be here next Tuesday. NHL, of course, our man Big Rio with the shipper, Nades, has been doing awesome. Literally no better time to get over. And we do have a promo code for you if you do want to get in. NBA 15 gets you 15% off any membership plan. The weekly does not get you Discord, but it gets you everything else. If you want to give us a try and you haven't checked out our content yet, if you do want to get in the Discord, monthly, 6-month, annual, if you just want sports specific, you can do that as well. But no better deal out there. $85. You can get every single thing on our site, Shiptimizer, all the sports. You compare that to a lot of other people. You might be paying that for one sport at other sites. Nobody better out there in the business than Shipping Nation. No bias right there. But as you can see with Rio, Hoop, DGen, the screenshots do keep coming. More importantly, so many members, man, all these screenshots. I want to shout out Jonathan, and I want to shout out Kid Linen playing NBA preseason DFS. That's what you got in the Discord. Little Neck's always dropping stuff. Jonathan's dropping stuff. No better community in Discord out there than Shipping Nation. So if you haven't given us a try, I don't think there's any better time with all these sports going on right here. Let's talk some MMA, Big Marley. Again, not the best card, but hey, at least we get to start off with an absolute banger. Robelis Despain taking on Austin Lane. Despain, the highest priced fighter on the card at 9,400. Third biggest favorite, minus 340. Austin Lane, plus 265 on the way back. Fight to finish, minus 1,400. Despain inside the distance, minus 400. Austin Lane inside the distance, plus 400. Despain in round one, we have at minus 165. By far the highest inside the distance prop on the slate. Big boy, as you can see right there, 6'7", 6'6". You got some big boys right here squaring off. Fights minus 170 to finish in round one, Big Marley. How do you not jam it? I guess I'm going to throw it to you. Are you making any rules to go all in on this fight?
No, definitely not making any rules, because if it doesn't end inside the distance, neither one of these guys is going to score well. It's going to be a slop fest. But I do want a ton of it. I mean, it has a 93% chance of ending inside the distance. It's got a 63% chance of ending in the first round. Both guys have knockout power. Lane has a little bit of wrestling. I don't really believe in it. And if he wrestles, he probably gasses out. So I just think this fight's going to end in the first round and a half, probably more likely the first round, and the winner's going to score 100 plus. The issue is that Despain is going to have a ton of ownership, especially now with the Hadley free square. There's going to be a lot of Hadley and Despain lineups. So getting around those, figuring out how you're going to get different if you do put those in a lineup, that's kind of what I'm trying to think. So I actually don't mind getting some lane exposure going just against that full-on chalk. And then Lane should be near 10% ownership or something like that. If he does win in the first round, he's on the optimal lineup. You're only competing with 10% of the people, and you just killed off 50 to 60% of the card. So I might be a little bit overweight on the Lane side, just hoping he can pull it off. But that's just to be contrarian. I do think Despain is one of the best plays on the card, probably second best play on the card, in my opinion.
I'm with you. Everything you said, like I probably will end up more overweight to Lane just because it's an 11 fight card. You need to get different. Like, how do you get different on this card? Austin Lane, or how do you get the most leverage on this card? Austin Lane against Despain, and then Cameron Smotherman against Jake Hadley. That's how you get That's how you get the most leverage on the card. Hernandez will be owned. Pereira will be owned. Pereira will be lower owned, so you do get some leverage there. Pineda, Elkins, great fight to target. Both get ownership, but you're not really getting leverage on both sides since they're similar. no one else really is getting enough ownership. Maybe Elma if you get some Nicola ownership, but nothing like, or leverage, nothing like you get with Lane and Smotherman. And I prefer Lane because the fight's minus 340. Like, how many times do you see a minus 340 person lose? These are big boys. Lane can still land a hard punch. Gun to my head, Despain in round 1. I mean, Despain can do it under a minute. He's a big boy, hits really hard, freaky power, but I mean, he got fraud checked last fight. I don't think Lane's great. Maybe he wrestles a little bit, maybe, which would be nice, and puts him on his back. We saw Waldo do that, but more than likely Despain in round 1. The thing is, if Despain wins and Hadley wins and the main event's on the winner, you're probably going to see a big boy chop, and I don't want to be playing for that. I'd rather play less teams this week and try and maximize leverage. I will have too much Austin Lane, and he will probably get me 6 points. But when he doesn't get 6 points and he wins, it's probably going to be 100, and it's going to be on the winner, and 60% of the field will die with Despain. So that's my thoughts right there. What is Lane's path to victory? He can either knock him out or he can wrestle. I think knocking him out would be the most likely, and we'll see right here. Lane plus 600 by KO, TKO, and he is plus 1,000 by sub. So books do think more likely to knock him out. The plus 1,000 by sub, really just like if he does get the wrestling going by sub. So knockout's the most likely. Let's keep it going to an awful fights, in my opinion. We're going to have 3 women's fights back to back to back. I think all are gross. Minus 135 is Melissa Martinez. Plus 115 is Elise Ardeline. Plus 275 for this fight to finish. Minus 350 then. It goes the distance. Maybe I should say it that way. Plus 410 for Martinez. Inside the distance. Plus 550 for Ardeline. We had Martinez open minus 175. Got all the way down to minus 117 this morning. And then a little buyback on Martinez today. Yeah, about like 20 cents almost. Now sitting around minus 135. Any interest in DFS in anything in this fight?
I mean, definitely not much. I might move it to a 1-star just because it's really not a good fight at all. I have it as a 2-star though, because I do like the underdog to win. All ass Ardeline, she's going to need to wrestle here if she is going to win the fight. And if she can win, I think she could be a decent pivot off of Hadley. If Hadley, I mean, he maybe he gets knocked out, I guess, but just if he doesn't put up enough points is what I'm thinking. Let's say we get like a 73-point win from Hadley. If all ass Ardeline can put up 74, then maybe we're on the optimal with her. So at much lower ownership, I'm okay with her as a pivot. I think Martinez is going to be the better striker in this one. We haven't seen her in 2 years, but Ardeline's striking was just not good. So I'd imagine even if Martinez hasn't improved, she should still have the striking edge overall. But I just wasn't impressed with her game either. So give me the underdog. I guess now it's an even line, but when I did this fight, she was the underdog. She's the underdog on DraftKings as well. So all ass Ardeline or pass for me.
Yeah, she's minus 135 plus 115. So she's still considered a dog. I don't know. I have this one as a fight fade, and I'm probably going to keep it that way because you're parlaying getting the winner right, picking a winner right in a really close fight, in the most likely fight to go the distance on the card at minus 350, and then they need to score enough to then be on the winner. So I just think there's so much going. In 20 teams or less, I doubt I get there. I do think Ardeline would probably be my preferred play, 600 savings. I think if people get takedowns, it's probably her. But I think this fight's just going to be gross. Goes to decision. The winner scores 70, 65, and it busts. So it's my least favorite of these 3 women's fights, I will say. And this next one has my favorite individual piece, and it's the underdog. We're going to get right into it. Elise Reed, minus 180. Jessica Penne, plus 155. This fight is plus 190 to finish. We have Jessica Penne, plus 350 inside the distance. Elise Reed, plus 400. So right away, the underdog has a better inside the distance prop in Jessica Penne at plus 350. Her sub prop is plus 400. So what that's saying is 41-year-old Jessica Penne, if she wins, it's probably going to be by sub, maybe by decision, but that would probably be through wrestling. And that's what I love to see. Penne is not a very good grappler. She's a very solid grappler, though, especially when you compare her to Elise Reed. I'm looking at striker and Reed, grappler and Penne. Reed can't finish anybody, doesn't throw great volume as you see, and she's 8,600. If you want to get different, Elise Reed will be low owned. I will mess around other ways to get different. And Jessica Penne, if she wins, I think that could be takedowns. I think it could be a sub. And if it's by decision and she wins, I probably expect her to stay on top for probably 2 rounds because I don't think she's winning a striking match. All of that adds up to not a high ceiling, but again, we don't need a high ceiling from these dogs on the card, but at least higher than I look at the Ardeline, then I look at Katona, then Nicola. So yeah, I'm going to play some Jessica Penne, and I hope she wins. I will not be playing Reed. What about you?
Yeah, that's when I started as a 2-star just because I really don't care about the fight at all. But the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? This kind of has a chance to be on the optimal lineup. As you said with Panay, she's going to need to get the fight to the ground to win. She's almost 42 years old. So I kind of think she only has like 2 good rounds in her. And if she is winning with wrestling, I don't really think it's wrestling. It's probably she gets a takedown and then she backpacks her for 3 or 4 minutes and wins the round that way. Her only real upside, in my opinion, is an early submission. But I think that's really her best path to victory too. So I'm cool with Panay. But if she can't get the takedowns, I think Reed pieces her up. And I actually think Reed could get a TKO in this fight. So I'm going to have a little Reed exposure as well. I might be over the field on both sides, actually. But I'm picking Reed to get the win, probably take 2 rounds or get a TKO.
Okay, maybe I can always change myself a little bit because of your thoughts, especially on a card like this. Maybe Elise Reed I do change. I'm going to monitor some line movement. Maybe I would like if her inside the distance prop went the other way too. But she is very low owned. You can mix and chalk your team. So you think she's live for TKO, plus 400 isn't the worst. Maybe I'll get a little bit. Penne still definitely my preferred side though.
She dropped that Martinez girl when they fought. So if you could drop Martinez, you could drop Panay.
Yep. No, I like it. Yeah, that's true. Panay's not good. 41 years old. She's coming to the end. What's going on, Steven Neighbors? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. So we got other sports Thursday night. Lot of going on always. Guardians, David Fry walk-off homer. That is sick. 2-1 Guardians. And the Broncos putting it to the Saints. 13-0 right now. 7 minutes left in the second. For any updates for you guys watching live. Let's get to the last women's fight on the card. And a pretty big favorite. Jocelyn Edwards minus 236. Tamiris Vidal plus 201. Plus 250 for this fight to finish. Edwards plus 375. Vidal plus 550. I guess, before you break it down, do you like this fight more or do you like that Martinez fight more since you both have him as a 2-star?
I like different sides of them. This one's favored or pass for me. The other one's underdog or pass. So kind of similar, but just for that reason. I want no interest in Vidal here. If she wins, I think it would probably be a close striking match, more likely a robbery, in my opinion. I think Edwards is the better striker. I think she's the higher volume striker. I think she's the cleaner striker. I also think she's the better wrestler in this one. She could maybe get 5+ takedowns in this fight if she wants to. So at low ownership, I'm a little bit interested in Edwards just for the low ownership part, really. If we weren't worried about ownership, this would just be a 1-star and I'd fade both sides. But she's one way I'm thinking about getting different. And then I'm just going to X Vidal out. I just don't think Vidal has any real upside. She knocked out Ramon Pascual. It's not saying much. I don't think you're going to knock out Edwards. And if you don't knock out Edwards, she just has no upside at all. And if she does win the fight out, I doubt she even hits 10x that $7,300 salary. So Edwards or pass for me.
You're not going to play any Vidal on 20 and below?
No, even 150, I'm Xing her out. No,
even 150. Okay. Yeah. I'm probably going to change Vidal to fade and Elise to underweight after that. Jocelyn was for sure my preferred side. I was with you. You can easily use Jocelyn to get different in teams. Like everyone's going to go to Despain up top. Otherwise, Elma for 200 less will be a lot more popular. And then, of course, you have the Elkins fight, the main event. So she's in the range where no one's going to play her. You could use her to get different. I know I do prefer Charles Johnson when we get there a little more. But, yeah, Edwards, I will say that when I was typing this fight up like an hour ago, Edwards was minus 265. And then right away, someone must have put a big bet on Vidal because it went to minus 236. So something I'm going to keep an eye on. But Edwards definitely my preferred side and will get you different. up top. Do you think she can win by ground and pound after a takedown is Ben's question.
Yeah, I think so. Just one where Vidal gives up her back and she just starts throwing enough where the ref steps in. I can see that.
There you go. Always appreciate you again, Ben. Let's keep it rolling. Next fight on the card. Another one, we have a 3-star. Another one heavily favored to go the distance. Gene Matsumoto taking on Brad Katona, minus 193. Matsumoto plus 168 is Brad Katona. This fight is plus 240 to finish. Matsumoto, all the finishing equity at plus 260. Katona plus 900. I mean, the thing is, like on most cards, I wouldn't love Katona. The dude finishes almost nobody. Plus 900 is awful. However, again, at 7,200, maybe 70 is enough on this card. And also when you dive into the fight, I think Katona should have some success wrestling. Argetta loves to chain wrestle. He went 9 for 19 against Matsumoto. Tough UFC debut. Matsumoto got the job done. Second round submission at the end by Gilly. The thing is, though, you got taken down 9 times. You got control for 6 minutes. Katona averages 1.71. Matsumoto's a good striker. So you think Matsumoto, especially with right here, hold on, let me pull it up. 4-inch reach advantage, a lot more tools in the tool belt on the feet, a lot more power that Katona will have to mix in wrestling if he does win this fight. I think he does. I think he's a very live dog. At the end of the day, Matsumoto probably needs a finish at 9K. And I know I'll have a lot more Despain. I'll have a lot more Elma. I'll have more Johnson. And I guess I'm going to throw it to you on this note. It looks like you prefer Jocelyn Edwards to Matsumoto as well. So break down this one.
Yeah, I do think Matsumoto is the more dangerous striker in this one. Maybe the more dangerous grappler too. He probably has the higher ceiling with his finishing potential. But 9K, he should be the one with ownership as well. I think that Edwards is just a decent pivot off of that ownership, really. And I think the line should be a little bit closer. I do think Matsumoto's a more athletic striker, probably higher volume, more dangerous, like I said. But Katona can hang in there for all 3 rounds on the feet. But I think his edge in this one is the wrestling. Look for multiple takedowns in this one. Grind this guy up against the cage. And I think Katona's super live in this one. So give me the underdog to win. I don't really like his ceiling. He's going to need to rack up multiple takedowns to have any real ceiling in this one. But an underdog, I think, wins with wrestling. That's someone I'm always going to be picking. So I'll probably be overweight to Katona, underweight to Matsumoto.
Yeah, you and I see it the exact same. I'm right there with you. Like Katona is just, it's hard to love his fights. He's 14-3 with 10 decision wins and all 3 losses by decision. He's really tough to put away. He doesn't put away many fighters. When that's the case, I much prefer usually taking the 7,200 guy opposed to the 9K guy. And he has the wrestling upside in this one. So it all checks out, and I'm glad you're on the same page as me. Let's keep it going. Next fight. We'll just crank through these puppies. We have a very important one. Asu Elma taking on Mateus Nicolau. Minus 200 is Elma plus 170 is Nicolau. Plus 200 for this fight to finish. Elma plus 300. Nicolau plus 550. I mean, we're talking bangers on this card. This is probably the best outside of the main events. The co-main event's pretty good too, but I mean, 2 top 15 flyweights. This is a great real life fight. Number 10, Nicolau. Number 14, Elma. Nicolau is on a 2-fight losing streak, but Brandon Royval, shout out Brandon Royval, baby. Let's go. That live bet. Absolute money last week. I absolutely needed that. Hell of a fight against Tyra. And then Alex Perez, another really good fighter. No shame in those losses. All 4 of his losses have come by KO, 19-4, all 4 losses by KO. But he's taken on a primary striker without almost any KO upside at what it feels like. Let me refresh this. I see I didn't have your stars up there for that one. There we go.
Is it there now?
No, I got it. It was something on my end. We're good. We're good. It wasn't you. Right back to it. Elma. Look at this. 6.68 takedowns per 15 minutes. That's 3 UFC fight sample size. 2 decision wins, 1 finish win. He scored 105 in finish win, 118 and 105 in decision wins. This guy is a DFS dream. Wrestle. However, Nicolau has 93% takedown defense, Big Marley. You look at it, 2 inches in height, 1 inch in reach. He clearly will have the striking advantage in this one. So I'm looking wrestling versus grappler. And last thing to note before I throw it to you, Elma opened. This line opened minus 350 plus 275. Immediately got down to minus 240 Nicola. And money still came in on Nicola. Got all the way down to like the minus 160 range before some buyback on Elma. So is Elma the real deal? He's definitely get a big step up in competition.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the fight to find out, I guess. I do think he's the one with the higher ceiling, though, just with his wrestling potential. If he is going to win a striking match, it's going to, I think, be a knockout. Nicola's coming off 2 straight knockout losses. Almabayev throws heavy. He doesn't really knock many guys out, but I think if Nicola's chin just really isn't there anymore, I think he could definitely knock him out. But I like him to just grind this guy against the cage, maybe land 3+ takedowns in the fight. So I do think he is the one with the higher ceiling. But, man, Nicola's super live in this fight. He's the more dangerous grappler. Maybe. I mean, the grappling could be close, I guess. But he probably wins a 15-minute striking match. He could maybe knock out Almabayev as well. So I think Nicola could win by any method in this fight. He's a live dog. So that's why I put the stars even on this one. I'm fine with either side. I probably prefer Almabayev. The field will as well, though. So if I make my lineups in the Shiptimizer and it gives me 10% more Nicola than Almabayev, I'm not gonna like make adjustments if I like everything else.
That makes sense. Like Almabayev, the nice thing about him is he's only 8,700, and I say only because like he could outscore Despain. Even if Despain gets a first round knockout, if it's not in a minute, he gets 106. Like this fight's supposed to go 15 minutes, but you almost want that when you play Almabayev because his wrestling upside and allows you to leave chunks of salary on the table. On a slate, it's really hard to get different. So if Almabayev's your highest price fighter and you go someone in the main event, someone in the Elkins fight, Hadley, and then like Austin Lane, I don't know what that leaves in my head. It's something like 1,600 maybe if I'm anywhere ballpark right. And that lineup isn't crazy at all to something like that. So because Almabayev's priced at 8,700 and the mid-tier is good, there will be lineups I play where he's my highest like price fighter in that lineup, and it allows me to leave a lot more money. So without sacrificing upside, because that's what Almabayev has. That's what the Elkins fight we're going to talk about has. That's what the main event has. That's what Hadley has. So that mid-tier, you are able to leave a lot of money, and it's a lot easier to do so when you do go Almabayev instead of someone like a Despain, like a Phillips. So that's how I'll be using it. And Nicola, yeah, a live dog. I definitely prefer the Almabayev side due to wrestling, though, but it's a great fight. Nicola's a live dog. I'm trying to play live dogs. I am playing live dogs or keeping him in my pool, and he is one of them. Let's keep it rolling to the fight I keep mentioning. That's because, man, it's such a fun fight. Darren Elkins, 40-year-old Darren Elkins, Darren the Damage, minus 115, taking on 39-year-old Daniel Pineda. Minus 105 is Pineda. This fight's minus 200 to finish. Pineda's plus 145 inside the distance. Elkins plus 200. And some interesting line movement in this one. We had Pineda open minus 175, and then we saw the line completely flip. Elkins got a little buy right away, stood there for a little bit, and slowly but surely, Elkins has taken money as the very small favorite in most spots, coin flip in some others. Both good inside the distance props. The fight's supposed to finish, and the first thing I noticed when looking at this one on the stone, 2.85 takedowns for Elkins, 1.61 for Pineda. Both guys can wrestle. You have it as a 5-star. Take it away.
Yes, this is a great fight. That could go either way. It's a good one for DFS, though, because I think Pineda is maybe the better fighter in round one. Definitely more dangerous in round one, though. He could submit Elkins early, or he could just maybe knock him out just because of all the damage that Elkins has taken. But after round one, Pineda probably starts to slow down, and Elkins probably starts to pick up the pace, and then he just becomes better everywhere. He could be the better striker with volume. He could be the better wrestler. He could be the better grappler, and he's not going to slow down. He's going to put it on him until Pineda gives up, or until Pineda goes 0-8 in decision. So that's what I'm going to pick to happen. Pineda's about to get his 8th decision loss in this one. Elkins is going to be one of my favorite plays on the card, but I'm still going to get a good amount of Pineda too, because if he wins, he's got a big ceiling as well. I'm going to be not all in on this fight, but I want a lot of it. I'm not going to make a rule, but if I end up all in, I'd be fine with that. If I end up with like 70%, I'd be all right with that too.
100%. I agree with that statement. I'm not making a rule either. I am in the main event, but I want a lot of this fight because I think it's more than likely optimal. An interesting line when you were talking. The decision prop, plus 325 Elkins, plus 350 Pineda. That's pretty weird. I wonder what the decision only prop is if you feel a lot more confident in Elkins getting the decision and not Pineda. And then round one, this is exactly what you were saying. Pineda plus 275 in round one, Elkins plus 625. Exactly how you said it is how I see it. Pineda early. If Elkins can survive, wears on Pineda, Elkins probably 2 and 3. But all the round one upside, or at least most of it, is on the Pineda side. He has never, every fight he's won has been inside the distance. Absolutely insane stat right there. So very dangerous. Can KO Elkins early. Can sub him. Elkins is getting up there. I wouldn't call him dusty yet, but that's because the dude's all grit and toughness, man. Like, it's not pretty what he's doing. He just he wants it more than the other guy when it's all said and done. I'm going to side with that side as well. Give me the grit, the toughness, and the wrestling. But, I mean, I ain't betting on 40-year-old Darren Elkins with my hard-earned money right now. That's more of a live betting situation for me. Let's keep it going. 4 fights left. The biggest favorite on the card and the most mispriced favorite, 7,700, Jake Hadley taking on Cameron Smotherman, who's plus 385. We do not have pricing on Smotherman yet on DraftKings. Should come in early in the morning tomorrow. The only prop we have on this fight is under 2.5 rounds, which is minus 165. That opened plus 120, Big Marley. So love to see that. A lot of steam. I mean, 85 cents on the under 2.5 from open. Books thinks this fight finishes. Hadley, too cheap. Biggest favorite, will probably be favored to finish the fight as well. We have right now 69% for Jake Hadley. Yeah, that is one of the records, and I wouldn't even be surprised if that was 75%. Like, it's going to be a lot. How do you play Hadley at that ownership? Do you play Smotherman because of all the leverage? We have him at 7%. What are you doing in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of it. I do want Hadley. I kind of liked Hadley in the previous matchup, and now he's got an easier one where he should be looking for takedowns. He's the much better wrestler, much better grappler in this fight. He could win minutes standing too, but if Smotherman's going to win, it's going to come on the feet, and it's more likely he's like the more dangerous striker. That's his only edge in this one. So he could knock out Hadley. If he doesn't knock out Hadley, he's going to need him just to strike with him for 15 minutes to have a chance. But this guy can get taken down over and over and over again. He could get laid on. He could get his back taken. So I just think Hadley has an easy path to victory against a guy on short notice if he takes it to the ground. And if he takes to the ground at 7,700 as a minus 500 favorite, I mean, I would expect him to score pretty well. So I'm going to get Hadley. I like him as well. I think my way of getting different is I'm just going to add in Smotherman into my pool as well. If I match the field on Hadley, then give me 15% Smotherman too to kind of double them there.
Thank you, Ben. Smotherman 6,700. We will get that updated. DraftKings must have put that in very recently. And I agree with what you said. We're on the same. I mean, there's only 11 fights, and it feels like a pretty straightforward card, so I'm not surprised we're similar a lot. But the same reason I mentioned Austin Lane, and I do prefer Lane to Smotherman, but 7% when he's 69%. It's like, and 6,700. Like any win at 6,700, you feel good about, and being 1/6, like damn near 1/10 of the ownership as Hadley. It's just like, I don't know, on an 11 fight card that's so concentrated and so hard to get difference. I should say I don't know how you don't play Smotherman. I mean, he probably loses, and not when he wins though. The whole slate has changed, and that's when you can win all the money, which is what I'm going to be looking to do on this card. I'm going to dial back my volume. I'm going to play more risky, expecting to get almost nothing back. But when I win, I still want a pretty big payday. I don't want to be playing with 200 people in that same team, which very well could be the chop this week if Hadley wins the main event on the winner, Despain, one of Pineda, Elkins, etc. So going to force myself to play Smotherman. It's going to be gross. I do prefer Lane as leverage, but if you want leverage, this is how you get on the card. I will definitely be playing Jake Hadley as well for obvious reasons. Wrestling feels like the easiest path to victory. The price is silly. Should be favored to finish. Just be careful when you play him. How chalky are you getting? Where are you getting different? How much money are you leaving? Etc. 3 fights left, Big Marley. Let's keep it rolling. Again, appreciate everyone hanging out. Like button if you haven't done it yet. Subscribe button. Very much appreciated. And again, SHIPITNation.com. All these sports going on right now except NBA, which will be back on Tuesday. Our man Rio leading the crew. Very, very excited for NBA season. Use that promo code NBA15. Get you 15% off any membership plan, including Shiptimizer. All of them do include the Discord too, with the best community out there, except the weekly packages. Sumadargi, why do I always say the underdog sometimes? Charles Johnson, I hate how Fight Odds has that sometimes first and sometimes they don't. I don't know what they're doing, but Charles Johnson taking on Sumadargi, minus 224 is Charles Johnson, plus 189 is Sumadargi. This fight's plus 150 to finish. We have Charles Johnson plus 205 inside the distance, Sumadargi plus 550. So my question to you, we have Sumadargi 16 wins, 13 of them are by knockout. You go look at his losses, 6 losses, all 6 by submission, which is absolutely crazy. Charles Johnson, though, you don't think of him as a submission guy. He has some submissions, but you think of him as his cardio for days, track and field athlete, good boxing, just stick and move, etc. I mean, is he gonna absolutely just wrestle and submit Sumadargi? Like 0.38 takedowns, not great. Usually people are trying to take him down. But man, you look at the props in this fight. So plus 205 for Charles Johnson to win, plus 650 by knockout, plus 340 by sub. Books are thinking Sumadargi, a one-trick pony, good striker, nothing on the mat. Anyone can submit this guy. I mean, Charles Johnson I don't think is a bad grappler. I don't think he's a great grappler. Talk to me, though. Is it Johnson by sub? Is it really that easy?
I mean, I think all of Sumadarji's losses are by submission. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. That's not really what I expect to see, but it wouldn't shock me at all. I do think we're going to get a striking match here, which I'm hoping for anyways. Watching wise, I think it could be a fun striking match. Johnson's a high volume striker, can go all 3 rounds. Sumadargi, I think he is probably the more dangerous striker early. I actually think he's probably the better striker in round 1, but he probably does slow down where Johnson's going to pick it up. So I think Sumadargi wins round 1. Maybe he can keep it close in round 2, and then Johnson takes round 3, or Johnson just wins 2 and 3 as well. But I'm just with how bad judges are, just give me the underdog. I think it's going to be a striking match. That's where Sumadargi wants to keep it. I think he could win by knockout. But I just think it's going to be a close split decision where maybe we think Johnson wins, but Sumadargi gets his hand raised so that all these judges can cash out. So that's what I'm picking to happen. I just changed it to 3 stars on each side, though. I do think Johnson is live to wrestle, live for a submission in this one. So I do have a little bit more interest in him. But Sumadarji's an underdog I think can win. I don't know that if he wins a decision, he scores well. He probably scores like in the 60s, which won't be great. So I don't want a lot of them, but I'll probably still get a little bit of leverage on the Sumadargi side.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Johnson's my preferred side because I'm buying into that sub prop to Madargi having nothing on the mat, no grappling. Charles Johnson's easy to path to victory. He's a good striker. So is Sumadargi. Like you said, you think Sumadargi is better in round 1. It's hard to argue that when he has 13 knockouts. If he's better in round 1 but can slow down, why not mix in the wrestling early, slow him down, fatigue him? Then from there, you can do whatever you want. 8,800 for a fighter like that, like he's got round 3 finishing ability. Like I kind of think Jocelyn Edwards does too. Like if they can put it on Vidal, they can put it on Sumadargi. They tire out. I mean, when people are tired in MMA, as you guys know, points come in bunches real fast. I could see that with Charles Johnson, who uses his gas tank as a weapon. So yeah, I like him at 8,800. People will want Elma buy it for cheaper. They'll want the main event for cheaper. They'll want Robellis for all the way up. Charles Johnson, someone in that mid-tier range that I will be overweight on, hoping he does wrestle, probably find a submission. But I'll have some Sumadargi too, because similar to Katona, he's a live dog. Do I love the upside? Not at all. But man, like I was surprised kind of to see plus 550 inside the distance only for a guy with 13 knockouts. Charles Johnson never been finished, so that part checks out. But yeah, you small gloves. If you land on the chin and you have power like Sumadargi does, Charles Johnson could go away. So yeah, I'll have some of this fight. Johnson, my preferred side. 2 fights left, co-main event time, and the second biggest favorite on the card and the second highest priced fighter, Kyler Phillips, taking on Rob Font. Plus 160 for this fight to finish. Yeah, minus 450 Phillips, plus 325 Font, plus 160 for this fight to finish. Phillips plus 215 inside the distance. Rob Font plus 600. So you look at Phillips, man, throws a lot of volume, a lot of takedowns. Generally hasn't scored great in DFS, though. If you pull up, let me pull it up quick. He has never scored more than 100. His 3 UFC wins, 91, 98, and 99. All of those, he did land at least 2 takedowns in those fights as well. I mean, 99 is really close to 100. If he gets 10 more points, it's a great score. I don't love it in a vacuum because I love Robelos Despain a lot more, but I also think Despain will be over 2 times as high owned. So if that's the case, it's a clear pivot in the upper tier. And by the way, the next highest priced fighter after Phillips is 9K Matsumoto. So you pretty much have Phillips and Despain in their own tier, and then you get to the high 8K and that 9K fighter, and Despain's going to be over double the ownership. So if you want to get different one way, leave 100 plus and don't play Despain and play Phillips. Is it going to work? More times than not, no. Despain will outscore him. Minus 400 inside the distance, whereas Phillips is plus 215. But if Phillips wrestles, he has solid striking. If he gets knockdowns or something and does outscore him, you have a lot better chance to ship with a lot less people. So with all that, I'm not playing Rob Font. I think he's in trouble in this fight in multitude of ways. But do I love Phillips? No. But on a card with 11 fights, with a lot of game theory, I think I'm forced into Phillips just because where Despain is. Any thoughts on that, and how much do you think Kyler wrestles?
Yeah, I do think it makes sense just at low ownership to get away from that chalk. I mean, I think what most likely happens is Despain gets a knockout, Phillips wins a decision, Despain scores a lot more. But if they both win decisions, Phillips is probably doubling Despain's score in that. So even though I don't expect Phillips to score 100 points, if he scores 88, that could double a Despain decision win, to be honest with you. So I'm okay with that. But I don't know. I mean, I would expect him to land at least 1 takedown, but I don't think he goes out there and lands, 4 or 5 throughout the fight. Both of them are fun strikers. I think if it is a striking match, Phillips, I think Font's live in a striking match. And if Font wins at $6,900, I think he's got a good chance at the optimal lineup. So I will get some Font exposure here. And I'll get a little bit of Phillips exposure too. But just overall, I kind of want to get away from these 2 known names. I think ownership comes with that. Let me get on these other people that they don't care about as much, because I do plan on eating Despain chalk and Hadley chalk. So let me try and figure out ways to get different around that. So overall, I'll be getting away from this fight, but I'll leave them both in my player pool. But give me Phillips.
All that makes sense. Like, I don't love Phillips. It's just I'm forced to play him because of everything I said with Despain. I am going to play Hadley. I am going to play the main events. I am going to play Elkins Finade. I am going to play some Despain. When that's the case and I do play Hadley, the main event, Elkins, well, then maybe in that lineup I'll leave 100 plus and I'll go Phillips over Despain to get different somewhere. So, I mean, if you're already really different and you're deciding on Despain and Kyler Phillips, like just say you're already playing Vidal, you're already playing Mateus Nicola, like, yeah, give me Despain over Kyler Phillips in a vacuum all day long. It's just, if you're doing a 1v1 swap and just say the Spain team has 80 people in the train and Kyler Phillips has 7 people, it's the Kyler Phillips side all day long. So that's the stuff I think of when I am right, how much can I win? And I do think Kyler Phillips, in a lot of lineups, pivoting from Despain to him, allows you to win a lot more when he does outscore Despain. Main event, Tom Big Marley. Talked a lot about this fight already. It is the second closest line fight on the card, 8,300, 7,900. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez comes in as the favorite, minus 135. Michel Pereira plus 115. Minus 700 for this fight to finish. We have Hernandez plus 105. Pereira plus 120. Inside the distance. Line movement in this one, open, minus 200 Fluffy. Now minus 135, which I think is pretty interesting. I'm obsessed with Fluffy, man. I think he's probably the most underrated fighter in the UFC. One of them for sure, because all he does is just pace, cardio, wrestle. And he's finally on a winning streak, 5-fight winning streak, where he can now fight in 5-round fights. 5-round fights is all Anthony Hernandez wants. He is a problem. Nobody wants to fight Fluffy in 5-round fights. Very similar, I think, to the Elkins Pineda fight in this one. Pereira is a lot more dangerous early, just like Pineda. The longer this fight goes, the more it benefits Anthony Hernandez because of his cardio. Right there, 6.62 takedowns per 15 minutes. I'm going to have 100% of this fight because I think Hernandez wins. If he wins, it doesn't matter whether it's a decision, a finish, whatever. He's scoring. If he doesn't win, I think it's Michel Pereira early, and I think he wins. With all of that being said, I'm a little worried. Again, I don't try and listen to like too many people outside, like other like touts or whatever in MMA or that, but something in my head is telling me everyone's going to say the same thing. And ownership gap might be way wider than we think. Let's see. Right now we have 53-43. Fluffy Hernandez. I'm scared that this might be looking like 57-36, 57-33. And if that's the case, especially on a card like this, Pereira is the side. After everything I said, I'm worried the ownership gap might get too wide, especially on a card where it's almost all game theory for me because there's so many concentrated pieces, where I'm almost might flip myself and just force myself to go more Pereira or at least 50-50. So I know I'm a lot more overweight there. Everything I said about Fluffy, I love it. I think he wins. But I'm worried that this steam might catch on Fluffy for all the reasons I mean, who doesn't like a guy that averages 6.62 takedowns, that scores over 100 almost every single fight? Any thoughts on that steam that I mentioned and then break down this fight?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And that's how I agree with the fight going that way. I think it's Hernandez on the ground, puts up a big score no matter what happens. If he wins a decision, he has the highest ceiling on the card. And if he wins with the first round or second round submission, he's going to have a couple takedowns along the way. He's cheap enough to where 105 points is good enough to get there. So I love that $8,300 price tag for Hernandez. And if I was making 20 lineups, I'm all in on Hernandez. I think that's how I would go about it. But with 150, what I was thinking in my head was like 70% Hernandez, 30% Pereira, which still, even if Hernandez catches steam, at least I'm still overweight. And then I'm close to the field on Pereira at least. But yeah, Hernandez is my favorite play on the card. I've even thought about going all in with 150, but that never goes well for me. I just jinx the fighter, so I'm just not going to do that. But yeah, I love this fight. I will make a rule that it's all in. I think it's Hernandez on the ground, or he gets finished probably in the first or second round. I do think the path for this to not make the optimal lineup would be Hernandez dominates him in the first 3 rounds, and then Pereira knocks him out in the 4th round, something like that, where he just isn't scoring in those first 3 rounds, but then he gets the win bonus, and that's just not going to cut it type thing. But I don't think that's a likely scenario, so I'm probably just going to make the rule for all in on an 11-fight card. But yeah, give me Hernandez. I want all the Hernandez.
Yeah, like it's MMA. I mean, how does it bust? These guys get kicked in the nuts 5 times. The dude has a flu before the fight. You see some crazy things happen in this sport. And it's an 11-fight card with very concentrated ownership. Everything I've said, you want to get different, fade the main event. I prefer getting different. I'll donate my money playing Austin Lane and Kyler Phillips over Despain than I will fade this fight, is my approach. Pick your poison. You got to get uncomfortable. There's no doubt about that. What part do you want to get uncomfortable? If your decision is to fade the main event, I would not argue that one bit. I assume there's going to be plenty of players I respect at 150 that'll be underweight on this main event. Any last thing before we get on out of here? By the way, probably under 1.5 backflips. He's been a little more composed as of late, but that's funny. Any fight stacks do you see yourself doing? If you had to pick one, what would it be? Or do you think it is not the card to do it on 11 fights? I know I won't be. I almost never do. But 11 fights, you can somewhat maybe make a case for it. 10 fights, you can too. And again, some people I respect will stack this weekend. Not for me. Only if you 150, probably. Anything you have to add on that?
No, I won't be stacking. I would say best fight 2 stack would just be Hadley Smotherman because you're getting a discount on the full price. So I guess that would be my answer.
I think that's very sharp. In that sense, you'd hope almost every single underdog loses. That goes a decision. Maybe even if it goes a decision, though, like if Hadley wrestles, it's hard for Smotherman to score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he
That's why we
knocks
don't
him
really
out in the
fight
third
stats.
round or something like that.
Yeah. And then even Hadley probably wouldn't get there because he wouldn't get the 30.
Yeah.
I like your call if you had to pick one because of the discount. But
although let's say Hadley was just a big favorite on DraftKings. The fight I think scores the most, Pineda Elkins has a chance at that.
That was what I was gonna say if I had to, but like Pineda would really need a nuke in round 1 and Elkins survive, and then after that you would need very binary rounds in round 1 and probably round 3.
3 knockdowns in the first round, 3 takedowns. He just doesn't put them away, and Elkins comes back. Yeah.
You would need something crazy like that for sure. Like that Lacerda CJ Vergara fight. When Lacerda gets it all in round 1, CJ's running around, he gets a good round 2. You would need something crazy like that. But no, I ain't stacking either. That's all 11 fights, Big Marley. I mean, any last thought? I mean, I think we covered it really well from the beginning to the end. Any last things you want to say?
No, hopefully it's a good card for us. Congrats to our guy Hebrew Cheetah on that 100K win in NHL with Nade's notes. That's awesome. Now we got him giving us some tips here in NBA soon. So yeah, no better time to sign up. I can definitely wait for this card, but we got 100K up top, so I'm still kind of looking forward to it. So let's make it a bankroll builder for UFC 308. Good luck to you, Title. Good luck to everybody listening. Let's ship it.
And I will say, you guys watching MMA, some people just are watching the show. Some people just watching because they like DFS and they like to make money. I know a lot of you guys are MMA fans, though. PFL, huge fights. Francis Ngannou back this weekend. There's super fights, some awesome fights, top to bottom on PFL. So I believe that starts at 1:30 Eastern. These at 4 Eastern. So yeah, you get all day of fights, all day of violence you got lined up if you want it. That'll do it for us, though. Again, definitely check out ShipItNation.com and make sure to use that promo code NBA15, which is good for any membership plan. Gets you 15% off. Includes the Shiptimizer as well. NBA right around the corner. MMA this week and PGA going on. NFL going on. MLB playoffs, college football, NASCAR, NHL. Let's make some money, Big Marley. What do we say this weekend? Good stuff as always. Good luck to everybody else out there. Be safe. Enjoy your weekend. For Big Marley, I'm Titletown. Peace. Good luck.